Yo. Oh, okay, she's launching. She's launching. All right. Perfect. All right. Yo. What up? All right. So yesterday we found this cool video series on Blender to DaVinci and color grading and a whole new world that I've not touched. And I was trying to figure out if I'm gonna do it or not, because it's not super helpful right now. There's a bunch of other things that I should probably be doing, but came home tonight and couldn't stop thinking about it, so I wanted to try it. Yeah, so I went into, if you guys don't know, let's switch. Alright, so there's this like free course. It's on YouTube. Him has a link in the bio to a free course, and so we watched the like
color management and color
introduction video, and it's exactly what he said: professional like color grading, but tailored to 3D artists and like 3D scenes. So like Blender scenes, animations, renders, bring them into DaVinci to color grade. And I have no experience with color grading, so that's why I'm so excited. And yeah, so if you go to this guy's link, you go to Gumroad. Actually, I can pull it up. Where is it? Gumroad. There we go. So yeah, Gumroad, Blender to Resolve, a freemium course, which is great. If you go to Gumroad, it's free to download for anybody. Donate if you can. If you have the money, definitely do it, because this looks like a great course. I'm excited to go through it. I'll definitely be donating. But yeah, it's free. So we're gonna, I don't know, I'm gonna start looking at it today, because I'm excited. I think the idea of going from like having just learning more about color grading and going from like renders to doing post is something I didn't get taught, or I'm not being taught in school, so it's something I'm curious about. So yeah, we're gonna fuck around and watch this course, and it's gonna be fun. So yeah, go to Gumroad, and yeah, that's what we're gonna start today. We're gonna start watching the series. So we already watched the intro. I don't really want to rewatch it, so we're just gonna hop into the first one, and we've got, from what I understand, I guess this is the first video. Actually, hold on, let me do one thing real quick. Where is my there we go. Cool. Get some music going. And yeah, so this looks like it's the first video. This is the intro that we already watched. Bonus slots, videos with subtitles, closed captions, I guess. Welcome to the freemium video course, color management, color grading, DaVinci, 3D artist working in Blender. Perfect. So yeah, it looks like learn how to properly export EXR sequence from Blender and interpret them correctly in DaVinci Resolve to know the basics of color space, transform, and tone mapping. No more clipped highlights and oversaturated colors. Cool. So there's a download button, so I'm just going to download this, and then we're going to start the video. See what's up.
Being a Blender user, you've probably heard about DaVinci Resolve and its powerful color
Mm-hmm.
grading toolset. And indeed, Resolve is a super hot thing right now. It's being used by the industry professionals, but also by hobbyist creators, especially given that it has an absolutely functional free version. Maybe you've wanted for some time already to get your feet wet with Resolve and incorporate it into your 3D animation.
I want to learn color grading.
Starting with Blender, then processing your stuff in Resolve, but you just don't know where to start, and there is so much to figure out indeed. What format to use for exporting rendered sequences, and what does it have to do with color management in Blender? And how the hell to even get the Blender footage look correctly in Resolve
in my life?
Because maybe you've tried to import the 32-bit XRs in there and it looked awful.
Oh, you know what?
That's why we made this video and this entire course to guide you through that. A bit of a warning though, this subject can be really hard to navigate as there are so many technical terms and concepts to wrap our heads around.
I figured.
It's a bit like math or coding videos. So if you feel a natural frustration, just know that it's completely normal and it will click eventually. Feel free to
trust
it at your own pace, I guess.
Alright, now I can see.
First up, Blender.
Blender!
When choosing what format to use for exporting the sequences out of Blender, the key decision is how to preserve the sweet dynamic range that Blender gives us. To be able to adjust the exposure in post, just like we do it in Blender. To be able to use the sweet view transforms like AGX or Filmic, or something similar.
I don't know
just
what those
like
are.
we do it in Blender. In other words, how to maintain the Blend-like color management pipeline in Resolve.
The only experience I've had with color inside of Blender is literally doing that one setting of turning color to like Filmic log.
Forms like AGX or Filmic or something.
The only time I've ever touched this setting is to go to the look and go Filmic log, and then you can change like the saturation to be medium high contrast. That's the only time I've touched any of this. So I am brand new to all of this, and it's gonna show.
Just like we do it in Blender. In other words, how to maintain the Blend-like color management pipeline in Resolve. Unfortunately, the deliverable file formats like PNG or FFmpeg won't cut it from that perspective. When using such formats, the data gets crammed into the display container, and while it may look okay when we preview it in Resolve, in fact, it would look just like the viewport in Blender looks. When we try to reduce the exposure or something, we notice that it simply won't work.
Okay, so you just lose a lot of data. It just compresses everything.
Lost along the way when saving in PNG or whatever, and that is of course super limiting and just a bummer when having to edit the footage in a meaningful way in Resolve. With the deliverable formats used for editing, it's super easy to clip or oversaturate the colors and do all kind of unpleasant stuff. Then of course we have the OpenXR format on the other hand, which helps to preserve all the data generated by Cycles or Eevee. And that's, if processed right, offers a much more versatile container for any kind of color grading and post-processing work. Meaning that the raw data is saved in full and we can tweak the exposure in post. And the way that the OpenXR format works is that, drawing the analogy from photography, imagine if nothing was ever clipped in a photo. Imagine an infinite range saved in a raw format. Or let's put it like this, the deliverable formats like PNGs are bound to the display range of 0 to 1, where 1 is the brightest value beyond which no information exists, while the intermediate formats like EXRs are unbound. So in post you're just pulling data from this infinite container to settle the final exposure to be shown to the viewer. The benefits of the unbound image data aren't limited to flexible exposure. When working with OpenXR, you're free to choose how colors in general will appear to the viewer. That's called display transform, and it's like choosing the chemicals that will be used for processing a raw film. The chemicals of the DaVinci stone mapping are very different from the chemicals of AGX or Filmic or the custom display transforms. More about these later.
That's cool.
In order to export our footage in the OpenXR format, all we have to do is go to the output settings and choose the OpenXR file format, the RGB colors, and then it can be a full floating point 32-bit.
Okay. Before he gets into it, let me check the download. Oh, did I just download the video? I did, didn't I? Alright, well, that's not helpful. So, when we were watching the intro video, it gave us the, like, impression, or they said something about, like, all of the files will be provided. So like we wouldn't have to sit here and render out this like scene. We could just take the scene and then like focus on like the actual DaVinci part rather than trying to recreate everything in Blender. Which maybe this is just the first video, so it's just downloading the video, or yeah. So like if I scroll down, they're all kind of videos. Shit, lots. Shit. Let's license resources. Include EXR demo sequences for both the car and the fire scenes. Okay, they are there. Alright, so it seems like we'll get to that point. Let's just keep watching for now. Where am I at? This one?
Bit format, or a half version of it, a 16-bit
So we'll see.
EXR,
We'll see what
which
happens.
is usually more than enough for storing the beauty passes. To avoid any confusion, a 16-bit EXR is fundamentally no different from a 32-bit one. It may look like we've changed the format, but in reality it's just slightly less precision, which practically doesn't matter if you're going to use it as video and not displacement or something technical.
Right.
Finally, there are very efficient codecs that we can choose from, ranging from lossless.
See, I don't even know what a codec is. My one concern about this course is it's gonna be way too technical for the level that I'm operating at now. Like, do I really need a high level source of color grading when I rarely am gonna be in the situation where I use it? But again, like, I think the reason I want to do this course, especially today, is like, it's cool, I want to learn it, but it's different enough from what I'm doing like day to day at work that this is still fun to learn about, because it's not the same thing. Like, it's different, so it's fun, right? So that's kind of why I'm watching this. It could be way over our heads, but it can't hurt to watch. It'll be fun either way. So that's what we're doing.
Lossy, like DWAA, which is actually much more efficient than PNG in terms of compression. To double down on that point, when stored in half-float precision with DWAA codec applied, an average XR file ends up tinier than a PNG, while holding a wider range of colors.
Why? How does it hold more data with a fourth of the file size but way more color data? Why?
Paradoxically, it's also faster
How?
to write and read, and its alpha handling doesn't actually suck. Why isn't OpenEXR used more often instead of PNG then, if it's just better? Well, apart from simple awareness and a default PNG output is the lack of simple previewing of EXRs within Windows Explorer. It can be really confusing, but you cannot just simply preview an OpenEXR file. Funny enough, you would need an external viewer like XMView to be able to open EXR files in Windows. Or better yet, something like DJV, a free tool for
interesting. So it's better, but it's just slightly inconvenient, so nobody uses it.
You would still need to point it out to the correct display transform. In DJV, we can go Image Color Space Settings, and then hit plus to add the OpenColor IO configuration file. Sadly, it doesn't support the current version of Blender, but if you have Blender 3.0 somewhere, you can hook it up to the Blender 3.0 configuration file.
I already think it's too inconvenient.
It's called config.
Now I get it.
Then we can just select linear within the image settings and filmic within the display settings, and that would be the filmic view transform from Blender applied to the EXR footage. So that's not bad, but we can preview it in Resolve anyway, so let's move on there.
So we don't need this.
An important
we
note,
just need Resolve.
Resolve is quite sensitive to the file's order, so if you haven't skipped frames or something and everything is in numerical order, you can just drag this sequence into Resolve and it will interpret it just fine. If there are some discrepancies in the file's naming, like 01, 03, 05, clearly some skipped frames involved, then at least in Windows we can select the last file, shift-click